All right, we will call to order the Deschutes County Planning Commission for Thursday, April 25th. Our first item is the approval of minutes, April 11th. Do we have any motions?
So move.
And a second.
I second.
Is there any discussion for the minutes? Good afternoon, Commissioner Altman.
Hello.
And is there any objection to the minutes today? So said, all in favor?
Hi.
Note that the 6 commissioners present all approve the minutes. The only commissioner not present is Commissioner Hovkamp. At this time, I would ask if there is anyone online besides Commissioner Altman. Okay, at this point, we would ask for public comment. We do not have anyone online, nor do we have anyone present. We will move to the next item, which is the Draft Planning Division Work Plan for fiscal year 24-25. And Will Groves.
Chair, record Will Groves, your planning manager. This evening, we have scheduled deliberations for the draft planning division work plan for fiscal year 24-25. We held a public hearing on April 11th and had the record open until the 16th, and no additional comments were provided during that time. Per your request, you received via email some white papers on the zoning text amendments that give you some background and description on those zoning text amendments. Regarding the procedure this evening, we don't have anything really formal scheduled here for you as how you're to approach this. The purpose, of course, of the work plan is an opportunity for you to give some feedback on how planning CDD uses its resources and carry those forward to the board. And so in past years, we've relied on the Planning Commission to bring forward what was interesting to you, and you could do that in a variety of ways. You could have formal motions identifying things that were important to all of you. I could simply take notes and kind of tallies about projects that were relatively important to you and carry forward those to the board in a narrative fashion. So there's a lot of opportunities. This is really, because it's not a land use hearing, it's not subject to the formality that those are required. And so, really there's a plan. We put together a draft plan, and we're looking for you to provide feedback that would be carried on to the board regarding the relative priority of these tasks, or in particular, if there's anything that wasn't on there that you think that the board should be allocating CDD's time towards. I think, you asked a lot of great questions last time, and I think you'll probably have more in them available for that, but I don't want to specify, and I'll leave to you to decide how you want to provide that feedback to me. It's being recorded. I'll take notes. I'll give you some feedback about what I've heard to make sure I'm carrying it dutifully forward. But I leave it to you specifically how you want to approach letting me know how and what to carry forward.
At this point, does anyone have any questions for Will Groves regarding any of these items? All right, then. Commissioner Altman.
Thank you, Chair. I did not notice anywhere in there, and maybe I missed it, that psilocybin was listed. What's the status of that? Is that just sort of business as usual? Applications being processed? Are there things that need to be followed up on such that it should be included in the work plan?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. So the legislative amendments with that have concluded. They were ultimately not appealed, and applications are being made. We have 2 applications actually right now, both of them before a hearings officer. And we'll get to see how those turn out. As of right now, there hasn't been anyone who's come forward and said, we need to change the rules associated with those. Although you or anyone else as part of this work plan could identify things that you thought maybe were not working correctly. I think it'll be real interesting after these first applications to come through to see, particularly for the board, but for you as well, if it's behaving the way that you imagined, or if it needed more sideboards where statute allowed for those, or if it needed to be allowed in easier or more difficult ways. So definitely open to the notion that we could be carrying forward some advice specifically about that program. But as of right now, I haven't received any feedback that someone's looking to amend that.
All right. Any other questions? All right, at this time, I think I'd like to go down the line with the commissioners to see what their points of interest are, and I would start with Commissioner Kelly.
Okay. Let me read my notes here. I am interested in in exploring the farm stands. I'm also interested in exploring the childcare industrial zoning. Those are my top two.
Mm.
And then the dark skies too, because I just noticed that that's a theme around here and I support that as well.
All right, Vice Chair Curis.
So I noticed that dark skies is already elevated to a higher level.
Mhm.
Yay. I really feel strongly about this item, and would like to emphasize that to the board if possible, if others agree. It's been on our work plan now for years, and we have talked about it a lot, and we heard a lot about it in the comprehensive plan update. So I feel like that's a great argument to continue having it prioritized. And then among the other items, I felt like the non-familial individual medical hardship dwellings was important. I think anything having to do with housing is really important, especially right now. So if it has to do with housing, I think the advantage to addressing something like that is just making things more clear for people is just nice to do. I think people can ask questions to staff, and we have a really good community development department, but also not everyone thinks to call and ask. Sometimes it's nice to have things really spelled out very clearly exactly who qualifies and who doesn't. So I would like that one to be prioritized. And then also echoing what Commissioner Kelly said, childcare facilities and industrial zones, same idea. It would be nice to get things really clear, what you can and can't do. I know we're in a childcare desert out here. We do not have enough childcare. So anything we can do to make anyone out there who might be interested in childcare facilities, make that more clear what the process would be if they wanted to embark on such an endeavor and have one in an industrial zone, that would be great to get that clarified. So those are my top items. And I also thought all the other projects were interesting too. So I'm open to those as well, but I'm not against any of the projects, but I just chose those to emphasize.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokkamp.
I'm interested in the dark skies. I think that's one of the big draws to living in Deschutes County. So I think that'd be an interesting one to pursue a little further. I had a similar interest in the non-familial individuals, the HB 2538. I guess one question I am curious about is it was provided that Clackamas County does like 15 individuals in that white paper you provided. So I was kind of curious what Deschutes County would be looking to pursue, if it's like a flat number or what that would look like then. So I'm in agreement with Commissioner Curis that a lot of things related to housing, whether it's that or like medical hardship dwellings and such, it's a good priority for us to have right now. And then one that I was just wanted to suggest, I don't know if it's possible for Planning Commission, if we could get like a panel put together for like an informational talk, but I mean, it was one of the two comments that was submitted for the public hearing, and all it was water, water, water. I mean, everyone here talks about water. We think about it, I'd say, pretty much on a daily basis. So I'd love it if there could be a water panel that could be put together just to discuss a lot of the factual details of it. And there was a great paper that was put together. It was put together by GSI Water Solutions. They're local in town here. And it was for COCO, the Central Oregon Cities organization. And it was put together in September 2022 and just has a lot of really great relevant data that explains several things. So I'd love for water, if there's a way for that to be part of the discussion of what we're looking at the year moving forward. So those are my thoughts.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Cyrus.
Yeah, thank you. I would also second the dark sky discussion. I think it's a good one that's past due. Also certainly have an interest in the self-serve farm stands, and maybe a broader topic. It's just agritourism in general. And we keep saying we support it, but the ordinances and restrictions and things make it difficult for farmers to actually follow through with agritourism. And I think that also could be partially addressed with the outdoor mass gathering and some of that just in general. And also, I'd second, this last year, we addressed destination resorts. And as part of that, there was a lot of discussion about continuing that discussion and putting together a panel on resorts, kind of readdress. I mean, it was back in the 90s, I think, that the county decided they were an important critical element of our economy and what they do. And I think it would be good to bring in some experts that have the background and the data to be able to readdress that, as well as the water panel, because I mean, there's certainly a lot of misinformation that we keep hearing in hearings that is contradictory to some of the reports that are out there that show otherwise. And so I think I'd like to see both of those panels this coming year.
Thank you. And Commissioner Altman?
Thank you. So I also ditto the dark skies. I think that we had such community feedback on that. And I've seen it in the news recently also about dark skies in Central Oregon. Not specifically necessarily Deschutes County, but I know that it's something that people are interested in. So I would add that as along with everyone else. Ditto the childcare and the non-familial household. I didn't even know that that was a thing. So I think that's something important to ditto what Vice Chair Karas was saying. Anything regarding housing is important. Water and the groundwater, where were my notes? Groundwater protection. Ditto what Commissioner Cyrus said about farm stands. It seems like I don't know how much effort would need to go into coming up with code about that, but I think that it's interesting and worth pursuing. And then also to sort of ditto what Commissioner Cyrus said about having a focus group type of thing. We had talked about that in regard to wildlife when we were going over the Goal 5 inventory project and talked about having a focus group to pull people from a lot of different areas to talk about that. And I don't remember if that was something that the BOCC was actually interested in or if that's going anywhere, but if Will knows, I'd be interested in an update on that. So that's my list.
You have any update?
No update at this time. Where we left it last is, and unfortunately, I don't have any new information on this. I know that simultaneously ODF&W was pursuing some updates for wildlife issues that they deal with, and but I don't know where those ended up, so I'll have to follow up on that.
Chair,
Yes.
I have a question about this. This could be a question actually for anybody to weigh in on, but about panels. So when I first joined the Planning Commission, we were having a water panel. I learned so much. I learned an incredible amount of information. A lot of things that I had heard people talk about had actually turned out to just be factually inaccurate, as Commissioner Cyrus was pointing out. We've had we've had a farm panel that Matt was on before he was on the commission. And then we also had a dark skies panel. And then we also had We've had a few other sort of expert testimony type interactions. My question is, I learned a lot that made me feel a lot more comfortable about a lot of different things and helped me make better decisions about how to support different things. How do we get the public? This is a citizen involvement arm. So how do we get other people in the audience or participating in maybe a similar type of way to how we had the comprehensive plan open houses and people chatting about stuff? How do we engage the public in a way that helps everybody who's interested in these issues understand more about what's happening at a factual level so that people can have more informed conversations? So I don't know why I'm looking at Will as I'm asking the question, not trying to put you on the spot, but really it's a question for anybody. Like, what are you guys' ideas about these panels and how they could be? Are you thinking it would just be nice for us to learn? Or are you thinking like, hey, let's try to help the community also be educated by experts?
I could offer a suggestion along those lines. And I think the panel I'm thinking about, I mean, I participate on a couple. I was on the water one and the ag one. But the panel discussion was limited to the experts and the planning commission. But the public was certainly welcome to attend and listen and watch and get the benefit of the information. And I think the way to do that as far as public education is simply publicize and advertise that you're going to have a panel of experts on these things. Don't invite the public to weigh in and offer all of their own opinions, because then you lose control of the whole discussion. And you're wasting the time of the people you've brought in. But that would be my suggestion is have a panel discussion with folks that are experts in the field and can offer informed decisions, preferably facts as opposed to lots of opinions. And then, like I say, do it in a public format and advertise ahead of time that that's what you're going to do.
Commissioner Stockham?
Question for you with the past panels, Commissioner Cyrus. Was there a Q&A at the end at all? Like, was there any of that public participation? Because I understand having them be present, but you want to make sure it doesn't get carried away or anything from.
Yeah. So basically, and Will probably, he's the one that probably put them on. So the format, as best I can remember, was more nearly an introduction. Everybody got to say say their piece as an introduction. And then there was a broader discussion of just presentation by the different panelists. And then there was a Q&A with the planning commission to the different folks.
Yeah.
And then I think everybody, if I recall, had an opportunity to, for a quick wrap up at the end. But, if I recall, that panel was probably at least an hour long, hour more, because it was, the whole point was to educate the planning commission on a particular topic.
Mhm.
Were these one-off panels then, just like a one-time meeting?
Yeah, well, I don't remember if there was any other agenda items those evenings. Like I say, I was just there as a participant. There was probably, I want to say 6 or so people that were brought in on each panel. Different directions. Water panel, for example, had somebody from irrigation district, somebody from water resources department. I think there was probably somebody from the city. I think I was there talking about agriculture. So it was a diverse group of people that had background and knowledge on that topic. I could see, given the fact we've had quite a bit of turnover since the last water panel, and given the heightened awareness in the community, I think it's time to probably do another one, especially in light of, there's a very, very educational paper that was put out in the last 2 years that debunks probably 90% of what we keep hearing at hearings. And then, like you say, destination resorts, was a significant amount of information that was brought to the public light, and the commissioners and planning commission and everybody, when all that stuff was adopted years and years ago. In fact, I was on the state work group that helped craft the language, but none of that has been brought to the public light since then. And so it may be time to revisit why and how and what those entities were supposed to look like and why, in light of the significant public interest. And if there's any other issues where, rural farmland or dwellings or whatever else, wildlife, we had a lot of testimony on a lot of different things, but we really didn't have any. Maybe a wildlife panel might also be educational, since we had lots of testimony, but not really anybody with a lot of expertise that spoke.
Chair Williams?
Yes.
So I think the first water panel that I was here for, which Will wasn't actually with us yet at that point, we had, I think, 3 different meetings entirely dedicated to this thing. And I think
I was on one of them.
Yeah, yes. But I think we actually maybe produced like a document from it. I shouldn't say we, I had nothing to do with it. The staff produced, I think, unless I'm making this up, this was like 6 years ago, but like, I think there's a document that came out of it. I think the problem though is that the document may be too long for people to kind of like go all the way through, if there even is a document. I don't even know where the
Can
document
you
is.
find that? Can you
So-
find that, Will?
Searching through my record.
Yeah.
Because the last time we had water panels, it was in 2022, and we did collect everyone's PowerPoint associated with that, but I can't remember.
This was like this would have been like 6 years ago, like before. Yeah.
Most recently, the one that Matt participated in was in 2022, and that was also
Hmm.
a multi evening series where have different themes of people who were speaking about water came. I can't remember, it was 2 or 3 events. So we had a refresher there.
I think the document I was imagining, I think would have come out of the not the first one, but the first one yeah. I mean, anyway, but what I wanted to suggest is, can we do this? I guess what my concern about, I wouldn't mind doing it again because like you said, there's been a lot of turnover. And also because people can just watch it. That being said, I just think there might be better ways to engage the public too. So like, for example, a hybrid sort of situation where people where it's, like a presentation, and then maybe there's like small groups to go discuss, or people can linger and talk about the talks together and, like kind of have just a little bit more engagement. Or Q&A, that's open to everybody. But I just think that if it's just totally didactic and if they don't engage in the same way. So just an idea. And then also I'd love to have a document that is much shorter that is just like, and I don't know if this would be too controversial, but for things that are purely factual, not opinions or stances, to produce like a, myth versus like, like when it's like myth.
Mythbusters.
Yeah, Mythbusters sort of, like the golf courses are using up all the water. Like, and then it says like, just like factually speaking, like here is where our water is going, 90% this and 3% that or whatever. I don't know. I just like a couple pages that people can flip through and go, oh, I guess golf courses aren't using up all the water like I assumed that they were when I see the sprinklers on or something like that. It's just those are a couple ideas I have if we're going to do more panels that are meant to educate ourselves, but also other people.
So I would agree that just having the panel is a little two-dimensional. We could either ask that questions be submitted like a week before the panel so that they can be provided to all of the panelists. And then I would also ask Will, are there any planning commission meetings like in the next 6 months where we really don't have anything and we could maybe move one item to be included with a different meeting so that we could have a meeting that was just a panel?
Yes, you've all asked a lot. I'll answer questions in the order received. So that the original water panel that you're speaking to, you're the only person left in that. It was from 2018. We were all so young. And it is available. It's called the Water Panel Series. If you Google Deschutes County Planning Commission Water Panel Series, the 14-page document continues to be available.
It wasn't my imagination.
And then we did it again most recently in 2022, but there wasn't a similar document produced from it. With regard to the panels, we've got in terms of what we've got coming up, we've got a relative lull here in the spring, with an anticipation that clear and objective updates are going to, certainly by late summer and kind of into fall, we'll be consuming all of your meetings and then. So there is some what appears to be some slack here kind of coming into early summer. Sitting out there, there's some text amendments have been proposed by private parties to increase the opportunity for mini storage in the MUA 10 zones outside of the cities. But that right now, and as well as a update to the sage grouse maps. Those are the two things that are sitting out there waiting to be scheduled here in relatively short order. The sage grouse map is less interesting because it comes through a state program and it's mandated that we adopt it. So we'll be here to talk to you about it, but there's neither you nor the board have any options. It's all state locked in about the updates to those maps. So yeah, there could be some opportunities for panels. Certainly we could have ask a question formats. I think there's a lot of value to this, you know, I think it's a good idea to rotate through some panels. Water does tend to be the most important issue. I just want to note that, you know, that many of the current board were here for the 2022 water panels. And, you know, I think we got some real interesting people to show up. Maybe we can get more or different ones. So I think that's a discussion we should continue to have about what panels you'd be interested in having. Yeah, and I think you're right in that there's nothing directly facing you in front of regarding those issues potentially, but it's something that comes up with enough regularity or informs your thinking. And, you know, the 2022 water panel was, yeah, I learned a lot at that. So concur that those are valuable. And so that would be something that we would then be looking to, I would be consolidating your remarks tonight. We'd be coming to you at a future evening saying, okay, well, here's some thoughts about, you had asked about these types of panels. Here's what we might be able to do with those.
Thank you. And I might bring up my items now of interest. And being a South County representative, I do consider the Newberry Country Plan one of my very top priorities. Also, the non-familial housing. My thought is that the county should probably take an approach like they do with vacation rentals, 2 people per bedroom plus 2, so that we're not overloading septic systems, because I'm sure there are not a lot of septic systems that could handle 15 people in them. And I am definitely dark skies. I know that we've gone from no burner to back burner to middle burner. And we've got 6 out of 6 here that think it needs to be a top burner. And also so my groundwater interest is with respect to the nitrates in the South County. And I recently had my water tested through the DEQ free testing. And it was interesting what was found in my water. The nitrate was adequate, but what was found was ibuprofen, acetaminophen. So,
Scary.
yeah. So that was, I found really interesting. And then there were just some things that, yeah, they just don't register. So I'm really wanting the county to encourage the DEQ to reach out to these manufacturers and get them to come west, get them to bring that 90% plus treatment to Oregon. And I agree with the outdoor mass gatherings. It's just something that just is curious to me. And I would really like to see the different commissions get their full staffing, the historic and the other ones, I'm just blanking on them, bicycle and pedestrian. Is there a way that we can reach out? I mean, the main reasons that I've come across them is I'm a business owner and I get the City of Bend newsletter, and that's how and I'm also a private citizen and get the Deschutes County e-letter. We've got to get better ways that we reach out to our community. So those are pretty much mine. And of course, and I think this was just really a grammatical error on table 3, low priority. When it talks about the self-farm stands, at the very end of it, it says pertaining to the establishment of childcare facilities in industrial zones. But we're talking farmland versus, and I think that's just a typo. Okay. So that is the majority of, those are the real big 3s. I know that we're still waiting for the state on the wildfire mapping, correct?
That's correct.
And you said we don't really have an input on the SAGE. So that would be about it. So at this point, we can continue to deliberate. We can close our deliberations and make motions, or make a motion to motion later. Commissioner Cyrus.
So the question is what is it you want? Do you want a motion and a vote to adopt XYZ, or just take our feedback back to the Board of Commissioners and go from there?
If you're comfortable, I believe what would be most effective is that I would create a kind of a narrative of what you just told me, putting a strong emphasis on dark skies and then sort of noting starting with the thing that was mentioned most, and then most frequently, all commissioners were interested in this, X commissioners were interested in item Y, kind of down the list to, things that were of individual interest. And then note those kind of, that there was an interest in having panels, come forward, as well as kind of opportunities to improve community outreach associated with our other commissions like BPAC and the HLC. And also, something that wasn't in the memo, but that groundwater nitrate issue was, I'll bring that forward as something that continues to be of interest to you. But I did take notes. All this is in the audio and the video. So I would then,
Actually, it's item number 15. It specifically references South County groundwater,
but
the 90% thing. Yeah.
That's sort of in an ongoing sense, but that, that there's some urgency to it and that, specific action should be considered. Yeah, so I've got notes there. I don't know, of course, up to you if you wanted to have a motion. But because this isn't a land use hearing, there's no such motion required. So it would be my intent to summarize this and then take it forward to the board as, kind of what you were interested in the work plan. Unless, if you wanted to have a motion for that as well.
Well, I think because I did watch last year's version of this, and Commissioner Cyrus made a motion, and I think we can say without making a motion, give them their plan, their work plan, and everything we have said. Because last year there was someone who was on one side of something and there's someone who was on the other side of the something, and then let's not wash those out. Let's not negate them. Let the plan, let the county commissioners know everything. And then I would agree with Vice Chair Curis that anything I didn't list, there's nothing I'm against supporting, and I'm in favor of the childcare and the farm stands. It just wasn't like my number one priority.
That might be worth letting them know too. Like no one was vocally against any of the items.
Yep, note taken.
Commissioner Altman, any comments? All right. So I'm going to just say, is everyone comfortable moving forward with giving the county commissioners the development work plan and all of our suggestions and comments? Are we all comfortable with that? All right. We're good.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your engagement. I know there's a lot of paper in there, and there's so many things that, people over in that building do, and we appreciate your support and your thoughts about it. There's always a risk in government of, you only talk to the person in the cube next to you. And so as always, it's just so I know that as I've said it before, you all could be home watching Netflix right now, and I'm real proud. And I like that you're available for this, and it's important for the community.
I would be at home playing Monopoly Deal, the card game. Alrighty, so any additional staff comments? Alrighty, Commissioner Kelly.
We're wrapping up.
Mhm.
Hey, no, this was great. I'm support 100% everything everyone said down the line, and I'm just grateful to have like a super united kind of front in supporting, what our agenda is going to look like this year. So yeah, it felt really good that to feel proud that what everyone's comments were.
Vice Chair Curis.
Yeah, same. It was fun talking about this stuff with you guys, and I appreciate that we did take a little bit of extra time to discuss what panels might look like, even though we didn't have to do that tonight. I think it's when we have shorter meetings, it's always good to take an opportunity like that. So thanks for humoring me on those questions.
Commissioner Stockham.
Yeah, looking forward to just unified agreement on a lot of priorities that we have to look at the next year. And I think let's see if we can get dark skies up there. So no, there's a lot of fun things ahead. So I'm looking forward to all the things we're going to be discussing. So I guess one question is, when is it going to be brought to the board of commissioners then, like what we talked about tonight?
Be in the next month.
Okay.
We're going to take it in front of the Historic Landmarks Commission, basically the same discussion on May 6th. And so sometime very shortly thereafter, we need to get to the board. And one of the main things, it's important that they, have a chance to engage with this, and also that, we clear our calendar for other items. So in relatively short order, but not a date certain at this point.
Great. I look forward to hearing the board's input.
Commissioner Cyrus.
Yeah, and since I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, I'd like to welcome Mark aboard and look forward to the next year as being productive, and we'll getting some things done.
Commissioner Altman.
Ditto to welcoming Mark. I have not met you, but I look forward to meeting you at the next meeting. I did watch the video from the last meeting, and my husband was in the room, and he's like, "Is there anything Will does not know?" Like, Will knows everything. So just kudos to you, Will. I appreciate you're such a fountain of knowledge and expertise in what you do and where the county has developed over the years. So I really appreciate that. It helps guide us, I think, very nicely. And I will be there next time in person, so look forward to catching up.
Thank you. And to wrap it up, I'm pretty much in agreement with everyone. I think this went fairly smoothly, and our next meeting then would be May 9th.
That's correct. And
Alrighty.
have anything fixed on the agenda yet, but we'll be working in short order to see if the MUA 10, I don't know if we're going to make it for those. So I'll be in touch about that meeting. We may cancel that meeting if there's no agenda items and we can't arrange a panel in very short.
As I say, 2 panels that night, huh?
Alrighty. Well, at 6:07, I will call the meeting adjourned.